Yeah. Okay. The idea for the Empty Nest series and the show actually came from Lynn Pesoat's work, that she's worked on this theme for many years. It's not a theme that I've normally worked with, but when we decided to have a show together, I began to think about it. I don't have children, so in a way my nest has always been empty. And I've done a series of drawings and installation pieces that have dealt with the idea of a very empty nest without children. And they start off more cluttered with sticks and multimedia. And they start off very complicated and in the hopes of having a family, and then as it goes further on, they get more and more sparse to mimic me getting older and the idea of me not having a family.
I started doing the Empty Nest about 7 years ago as a theme for my art after my kids moved out. And the first piece I started with was basically just kind of putting together a lot of different materials and just kind of symbolizing the idea of the kids moving out of the home and me having to kind of regroup as I went on with my life in kind of a different way. And so the first piece basically was about their journey and what my expectations for them as they went on with their lives.
For the Empty Nest series, I chose watercolor, graphite, and for the installation piece, some actual wood itself. The nest is done in a watercolor wash, which is very transparent and kind of untouchable, which reflects the idea that I never had a family. And then I would also combine it with a very detailed stick, or just a couple of sticks. And I kind of like that contrast between something very light and untouchable to something very concrete and hard.
I like to do mixed media. I like to play around with how different materials work together. And so like with many of these pieces, when I was creating them, I would play around with how like watercolors might mix in with some pastels, or how I could layer some things. And so if I'm working from memory, then I usually just kind of make a big mess. I might spread out a lot of newspapers while I'm working, and then I might just like go from one thing to another. I like working in multiples. I like to lay out more than one piece, let one piece dry, let one piece kind of cure a little bit, and then come back to it maybe later. So when I get set up to work, I'm kind of have to make a space, and then I have to kind of resolve it and put it all back away when I get done.
It was really a lot of fun to tear the pieces, make them jagged as opposed to the rectangles that they came in, and then I just attached them to the wall. I wanted this piece to be very monumental because it actually represents most of my life with me dealing with my students, which are my nest. When I was 16 years old, I really had a lot of hope that I would have a family. And then as I progressed into my 20s, and I have one drawing that represents my 20s, there's less sticks, and 30 is less, and 40 is almost nil. Until I got to my 50s, which is where I am presently, and I was confronted with this theme, and I started to think about it more in depth as in my 50s, and I thought, my life is very full with children as a teacher, and so it's the piece behind me, and it represents what a wonderful nest I have.
Okay, so Ruth asked me to show in her gallery after I'd shown her a few pieces that I'd been working on.
Because Lynn's my best friend.
And so, so we laid out all the work that I had, and I had a whole lot of different things on
The emptiness.
Yes, exactly. And so we thought about nature as a theme,
As a theme.
because I do a lot of things on nature, and Ruth does as well. And
We laid all this stuff out, and we started grouping her work because Lynn's so prolific. She had just tons of work because she's been working with this for how long?
for like 7 years.
Yeah, this theme she's worked with for 7 years, and then I just think about it for a couple of months, and I get mine done in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks. She gets hers done in 2 weeks, and it's amazing. But we're different in the way that we approach. I might go outside and take photographs, and
She's always walking in the woods and tromping through creeks and picking up things, and
so I might work on site, and I might take photographs, and then I might go also work at home with a still life set up, and Ruth, she just like picks a medium and goes with her idea and just knocks it out one after the other.
yeah.
So,
We had a
and
good
since we're
time.
both teachers, I think
Yeah.
that, and we've been best friends for many years.
It was a fun show
It was a great
to do
great
together.
time.